Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mich Mathews.
Good morning. It's a privilege to be here to talk about our image and reputation. You know, in many senses, we have built the Microsoft of our dreams, but at the same time, it often feels there's days like we're living a nightmare brought on by our very success. We're held up as this wonderful example of economic success and innovation, yet there are others that look at it as the very embodiment of greed and aggressiveness in our society. At the same time, you know, our brand is strong. Our brand is very strong, but our brand can be stronger. We are arguably one of the world's most admired companies. Our brand strengths of innovation and vision are enviable strengths that any competitor would love to have. And those strengths that we have are significantly higher than our competitors. And our brand is resilient. I mean, it is astonishing. The equivalent of really billions of dollars of negative advertising has been thrown at the company over the last 4 to 5 years. And our brand favorability has stayed solid. And that's testimony to the work that you all do every day and the incredible products that we have. But we live in a world of new challenges. We've alienated our customers and our partners in many ways, either directly or indirectly. There's issues with our product quality. Our products don't always work in the way that we say they will. I don't need to tell this room how our customer policies, our licensing, just over the last year, has really alienated our customers. And the third area of deep customer dissatisfaction is the way we act, the way that we talk. There's a lot of problems lying right here. The only good news in all of this is these are things in our control. These are things that we can do something about. And now is the time to act. Equally, we live in a radically new environment. If you just think from where we are today, just 2 years ago, how dramatically the world has changed. The economic slump worldwide puts incredible pressures on IT spending. The world post 9/11, our customers have changed. Security is a far bigger priority than ever before. And whilst we've endured governments investigating the company, suing the company, we now have governments who want to ban our software. So, if you've been a customer or a partner of Microsoft these past few years, you've seen an amazing side of the company, an amazing side of the company. You've seen something so positive and something to be so proud of, but equally, you've seen a very dark and bleak side of Microsoft. Let's take a look at what our customers have seen. Now, facing these challenges means changing the face of Microsoft, and that's what we're going to do. You heard from Orlando, we've embarked on a new mission, and with that new mission becomes a new brand for the company, which is all about realizing the potential of people and businesses. Now, this is not some corporate ad campaign. It's not a tagline. It's not something that Redmond is going to get all excited about for 2 years and then come up with the next thing. This is the mission. This is what this company is about. And this is something that we are sticking with for the long term. And it's an ethos that we have to infuse throughout the company. And it's not just about our products. It's not just about our marketing. It's about creating an enduring relationship with every customer touch. Image is not someone's job in Redmond. Image is everyone here today. Image is the 55,000 people who work at this company. Because brand is deposits in the bank. Everything communicates. Everything we do accrues to our image in some way. You can't regard it as just something that your marketing people will do or what your PR people will do. And one of the great things about realizing potential, it's who we are. It's why we get up every day. It's the motivation of the people here. It's not some marketing pablum. It is at the very heart of the company. This is our DNA. We work for a great company. We We don't pollute rivers. We don't create products that harm people. What we do is create software that improves people's lives. And that's a great thing. And you know, that greatness is being overshadowed. That greatness is being overshadowed by the stuff that I showed you there. So we have to tackle it, and realizing potential is our path to do it. It's so important, that statement, realizing potential, because it talks to our motivation, which is one of the big problems customers have with us. People look at the company, and too often they think that we make decisions about money and about market share. And unfortunately, that has become a lens by which that people judge our motives. Take something like smart tags, a wonderful customer-oriented feature, or passport, but it's viewed as something nefarious, or maybe the company is up to something about it. Trust. I talked about people questioning our motivation. Our customer trust has been so eroded over the last several years. And what realizing potential does, it talks about them. It talks about our customers and what they do with our software. It's not about us. We simply provide the tools that enable that. And our brand today is about innovation, empowerment. They're wonderful things, but that's technology. We have to inject that customer focus into our brand. And then equally, it's going to help us create that emotional attachment. And that is something that we've lost. And that's a very dangerous thing. Because when you lose that emotional attachment, you start to become vulnerable. And you're vulnerable to outsiders and alternatives because there's no bond. There's nothing tying you there with the company. And so that's an important element we need to drive back. And it unites our sub-brands in a very powerful way. If you look at our brand footprint today and where we compete, you see this orange oval here is more or less the Microsoft brand footprint. And then underneath you can see Disney, America Online, Sun, IBM, Linux, and so on. And so what we're trying to do, and you'll hear from Paul, and you'll hear from Mike, and you'll hear from the consumer people and so on, about how we are trying to stretch this brand into those places. We want to be in the living room where we're up against very established brands like Sony, like Disney, like America Online. We want to stretch our brand down to that quadrant. Equally, with agility and our efforts in the enterprise, we're trying to push that Microsoft brand upwards to mean something in the enterprise. We have ambitions to grow the Microsoft brand. I mean, if you think about our growth plans, this is where the company wants to go. However, for us to have permission to do this, we better start explaining our motivation, because we have regulators today who want to keep us in that little orange circle. Today, people don't look at Microsoft going into new markets as a wonderful thing, bringing business benefit. I mean, you've all read the stories that I have, which is Microsoft putting its tentacles into new businesses. It's so important that when you see us going into new businesses, it's because we're providing some value. There's a business benefit. There's a solution. We're providing something that no other person can. And the single idea that unites all those points of light around those sub-brands is our motivation, which is realizing potential. So it's a very powerful idea, and I want to show you it in action. Think of this as, this is who we are, it's what we're about, and it's why we do what we do. You're familiar at the very top with the new mission and the brand promise for the company. Then come the set of values, which we're all just seeing turn up in our performance review and will be driven through by Deborah's organization in many other ways through the Human Resources organization. Frankly, I consider the addition of these values I've been chipping away at this, I feel, for a number of years now on the company's image. And for me, this is such a breakthrough, because for the very first time, the way in which we're going to look at our own employees and measure them and reward them is so tightly linked to the image we want to project externally. And having these two so inextricably linked is such a step forward in the way for us to really reposition the company. And a new brand, and it means a new tone and manner from Microsoft. More on this in a minute, but we have to evolve from, let's say, the chest-beating, rather aggressive Microsoft that served us so well when we were scrappy number 2, still to a very passionate and active and competitive Microsoft, but a little bit mature, maybe a little bit more thoughtful, maybe a little bit responsible. And then in the positioning framework, there needs to be a set of themes. And you should think about these as the core kind of corporate vehicles by which you have a conversation about the brand. We're all not going to be out there talking about realizing potential this and that. But when you think about the work that we do, agility, our work in the enterprise, it's absolutely all about realizing potential. It's about enterprises realizing their potential. Enabling opportunity, our platform and the wealth that it offers, developers and other companies who can be successful on our platform. All the work that we do with partners is all about enabling opportunity. Trustworthy computing. Some of you were here yesterday, heard from Craig about this topic. Absolutely important. Responsible leader. And the digital decade, you'll hear from Bill later, all about that, our strengths of innovation and the breakthroughs that we're making. So we're already driving some of this change at the highest level around realizing potential. As I said, you're going to see it turn up more passionately in our HR, in our recruiting. In the US, we're going to do a pilot and do some corporate advertising around the essence that I just showed you. Brad Smith's organization is looking at the opportunity for us to do community affairs on a more global basis. We've got a new brand architecture for the company. And we're also addressing these image issues. Trustworthy computing, while it's largely an engineering issue to tackle those product issues that I highlighted earlier, as evidenced by what happened in February when we took 8,500 developers off their work and we went through systematically every line of Windows source code. It took 30 days. We ended up spending a lot more time doing that. But nonetheless, it's emblematic of the company taking this seriously and getting at those systemic problems. Trustworthy computing, though, is something that every partner and customer cares about. These are at the very core of the issues. So everyone here today has to play a role in knowing what the company is doing and being able to be informed and talk about it. Customer connection. I'm sure Steve's going to do a very effective job at the end of the day, really pushing hard on customer connection. But I talked about that problem with emotional attachment. This is so at the core. I cannot underscore enough how much, if we got our act together about customer connection, we will have such a profound effect on our image because we'll start to build that emotional attachment back and we'll start to build that trust. Continuing the work that we're doing on agility and digital decade is very important. And then responsible leader. This is critical in a number of dimensions. I mean, I so wish that when I was doing my slides for this speech that I thought, oh, we'll have a decision by the time that I give the speech, and so I'd be able to talk about more conclusively of how we're going to emerge a more thoughtful and pragmatic leader. Nonetheless, we still are going to emerge a more thoughtful and pragmatic leader from what's happened over the last couple of years. And it's very important. You saw our brand ambitions. It's great for us to have the popularity in the marketplace because we do a good job at it. And so it's important that we demonstrate that we're a responsible leader, that it's okay for us to have that popularity because it's doing very good things for customers. Now, I talked about a new tone. You know, a new customer-centric Microsoft is a joke unless we say it and unless we walk it. How we say it is often important as what we say. So here you're seeing a new tone for the company. Empathetic, responsible, passionate, and inspirational. Now, empathy is very important because the customer needs to understand that we're in this with them. This is a win-win situation. I'm not talking about sympathy here, where it's like overly pandering to a customer situation, but it's demonstrating that we understand their position and what they're going through. Responsible. It's missing today in our vernacular. This is the appropriate industry leadership that we need to demonstrate. It's kind of the more thoughtful, pragmatic Microsoft emerging. Passionate. Passionate is critical. It's part of our DNA. It's often that. It's a very positive way of describing that drive, that go-get-it, that tenacity that is at the very core. And one of those things that when you hold the mirror up to Microsoft is what makes us great. And then inspirational. It's a core strength of this company that other competitors, it's just the envy to have that same inspiration and vision that we have. It's consistent with our mission and at the core of making us get that emotional contact back. Now, I'm sure at this juncture there's some skeptics in the audience that say, yeah, that tone's fine, but I'm in a really competitive battle and, you know, you don't quite get it. The marketing people can do that, but, you know, I've got a tough guy and I need to go get them. Well, what I'm showing you here is the tone in action. A new tone doesn't mean a less competitive Microsoft. A new tone means a more effective Microsoft. And what I've done here is apply that. Let's take the challenge that we have with Linux. Now, we have said statements that Linux is a cancer in a very boastful and dismissive way. Now, whilst the essence of what Steve was trying to say there is true, is that it diminishes, we care deeply about intellectual property, and the Linux approach does diminish intellectual property, it's been used to personify everything that's bad about our approach. I mean, we can still make that same point, but do it by talking about the context and our motivation, that we believe in protecting intellectual property, that we believe innovation is important in realizing potential. Secondly, the old tone would talk in emphatic ways about dismissing the competition, yet not really taking into consideration that, that may insult people because the customer is considering that in its choice. So a more thoughtful and less threatening and aggressive way is to still relentlessly pose those competitive vulnerabilities, but when you do it in a question, and you really change, it's a nuance, but you really change the subtlety. The old tone would be very self-promoting, would go out and Microsoft would do research about Microsoft's position. The new way, and a more effective way, is that you can use third parties to validate your position. It underscores that choice being a great thing. And then lastly, a point on both tone and substance. Rather than talking about around Linux, our operating system, we should start making the shift to use the word platform, because around the kernel is essentially where there's parity. And we're not doing a great job winning that debate. If we start to have the discussion about the platform and the value that the platform provides, we can have a much more substantive debate and would be more effective. So infusing this in our marketing isn't as simple as just adding a tagline. I'm going to show you a few examples here of how it also means a shift in our approach. The old way in advertising, we'll still do product advertising, please don't misinterpret that, but it was, very simply about our products and what they do. Whereas the new way is talking about solutions, talking about the business value that we provide. Equally, Microsoft.com, obviously it's got to be the very embodiment of the new tone and manner, but Microsoft.com is shifting. It's not just about page views or unique visitors, it's about that customer experience they have when they visit the site. So we're adding more how-to and skill development content. Equally, improving features and adding partner links. This may seem patently obvious, but instead of simply just having product information there, adding information on how our customers can actually go buy the products and enhancing opportunity for our partners. You'll also see a shift in the way that the visual identity. And I'm showing you here just a work in progress. Now, if I knew you liked it that much, I might have been brave enough to show you the new brand, but more on that at another time. What you're seeing here is a visual articulation of bringing realizing potential to life, using people, realizing their potential, light, energy, that type of thing. Then in PR, obviously PR is going to have to be the embodiment of that tone that I showed you. Yet everything else that I've talked about is actually something that we can control. With PR, you can do your best to influence it, but you don't really control the outcome. What I'm showing you here, frankly, these aren't solely PR examples, because all of us do it. It's kind of getting in this new mindset of the brand. The old way of doing it, we wouldn't think twice of doing an event and standing alone and talking about our products and services. Well, the new approach and the more effective approach, we wouldn't speak alone. We'd have partners. We'd have customers. The new approach would have other people validating our point of view. The new approach would speak very directly, and we've all been critical of this in the past, that we would say it's a bug if it's a bug. We will say it's a flaw if it's a flaw, not a known issue. And equally, not to diminish a problem. If we have a problem with security, we need to accept that responsibility and not minimize it. Now, everything I've talked about today, this is really a journey, and this is a hard thing. It's not going to be done overnight. We're on a campaign here. It's really analogous to a political campaign where you say it, you do it, you evangelize it, you say it, you do it, you evangelize it. And it's going to be a challenging thing for the company to do. So I thought it would be instructive to look at someone else who's had this value in the brand and what they've done and how they've got through the other side on mastering the brand. So let's take a look. Now, the Star Wars buffs here will already know that if there's one thing that Yoda taught Luke, and that was if he was going to master the power of Force, he had to overcome his emotions if he was going to overcome the enemy. And it's the same for us. We are all Jedi Knights on this journey to master the brand. And so think, compete, personify that tone. Compete with your head, not your emotions. And whilst I've shown you here, I mean, we have our work to do at Redmond. We can provide the framework. We have to walk the walk, live the talk in tackling these issues. The brand really does belong to each and every one of you. As much as sometimes I wake up and I think it's just my job, it's not my job. It's everyone's job. It's not just your PR people or your marketing people. Because every touch, everything we do, everything communicates, irrespective of what your role is in the organization. It's a moment of truth. You're either going to reinforce that negative stereotype about this company, or it's going to be something that surprises people, and you're going to augment that view about the company. So it's in every product we make, every partner touch, every customer interaction, every piece of marketing communication, every visit that we do, every telephone call that we make. So, in closing, I ask you to be those Jedi Knights, live our brand, personify our tone, really live those values. When you go home at night, you're in the car or you're on the train or the bus or walking home, ask yourself, did you personify the brand? Did you personify that tone today? Did you really personify what makes Microsoft great? And did you make that emotional attachment with our partners and our customers that we most sorely need? So show them the human side of this company as you reach for the stars, and may the brand be with you. Thank you.
Okay, John, just feel the brand. May the brand be with you.
I can feel it. Yeah, I can feel it.
Just feel the brand.
I can feel it.
Feel the brand.
I got it.
Feel the brand.
It's in me.
Go
I can
with your
feel.
motivation.
I've got it. I can feel the brand.
Feel the brand.
I can feel the brand.
Go with your motivation.
I've got it. The brand. The brand. That reminds me. Back in Montana, the brand. This is the kind of brand we used to use on the ranch in Montana. I'm just a simple numbers guy. Rodeos, country music, and numbers. That's what I'm about. Today, we live in a numbers world. And numbers are important, especially in this wild business we're in at Microsoft. And where I come from, 2 + 2 = 4. And 1 billion squared is, well, a whole lot of cattle. What I want for Microsoft is a financial system that just works. No muss, no fuss. Something you didn't even have to think about. I could model Microsoft after some other big companies. But all I see out there is a whole lot of debt and some squishy accounting. Just so happens that I have found a financial system that works, and it's helping us control the 40 billion little buckaroos we have in the bank. The system? Truth, honesty, and responsibility. Now that's a brand I can live with. I'm John, and I'm a numbers guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John Connors.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It is a huge thrill to be here today, and there's a number of tough topics we have to cover. The first thing I want to really talk about is what's been going on in the macroeconomic environment. Next slide, please. And there's been a lot of news recently about the problems with corporate integrity. There's been a lot of problems about accounting restatements. There's been a lot of problems with people overstating assets and not recognizing liabilities. And it's all of our responsibility generally, but mine specifically, to ensure shareholders, the public, employees, partners, that we have financial integrity. And with the recent news, I wanted to clear first in this presentation that nobody in this audience has anything to worry about that Microsoft will show up in an article like this. This has also been
an environment that has been very difficult for shareholders around the world, and particularly in the U.S. markets. You can see what's happened to the NASDAQ over this period of time. You can see what's happened to the S&P 500. You can see what has happened to our competition, and you can see what has happened to Microsoft that we've held up relatively well, in large part due to the results that the people in this auditorium have delivered over the last couple of years. And I do want us to take a look at the relative performance of Microsoft. Because in a world that's absolutely difficult, the most important thing you can do is outperform relatively. And if you look at the last 4 quarters, we are really benefiting from the fact that our chairman, Bill Gates, and our CEO, Steve Ballmer, have imbued this company with a long-term view. We're now benefiting from all the investment in R&D that was made years ago, where we sacrificed profits to grow new businesses and to grow new products. And you can see from a revenue perspective, we are absolutely dramatically outperforming those that are our competitors and those that are our peers. But at the end of the day, what really matters is not just what revenue you produce, because I think the dot-com implosion taught us that revenue without money coming back in terms of profits is not necessarily a good thing. This slide also gives me a chance to try out the new Microsoft tone that I've got to get better at. And it's hard. It's really hard on this one. What I really want to say is the old Microsoft, look at this. Look at this. We are burying the evildoers. Look at Sun Microsystems. I can't wait until it's a penny stock. But I think I'm going to try out the new tone. Microsoft colleagues with me, will you quietly reflect and delight on the fact we are outperforming on a relative basis a number of other large multinational technology companies. I think we have to end up somewhere in between. It's also interesting to take a look back over the last couple of years in terms of what's happened in the financial markets and what's happened to investors and to the views of companies. Let's look first back to April 2000, which wasn't quite at the height of the madness, but was only a month behind it. And first of all, note how much market cap companies had, what their PE ratios were, and the number of technology companies in that top 10 list. Fast forward just over 15 months to July 2001, and the rationalization winnowing out and reality setting in had begun. You could still see that market caps were very high, PE ratios were quite high, but the technology companies that were not producing the kind of profits and cash flow that warranted being a top 10 market cap company began to disappear. Let's look at as of yesterday. The first thing I want you to notice is we are back where we belong. But also notice that the price-earning multiples and market caps have come down quite dramatically. And lastly, notice that this is the list of companies in the world that make the most profits, that have the most predictable cash flows, and have the most likely prospects of continuing to perform that way into the future. If you then look at how did we arrive to be in this position at this point, we had a heck of a good year, and we had a very good fourth quarter, due again to the great work of people in this room, people developing products, and people supporting our efforts around the world. If you look at the fact that we grew revenue in every single segment that we report in our SEC filings, that is a remarkable accomplishment. It's also remarkable on a relative basis to see that we grew the desktop platform business 16% in a declining PC unit growth environment. That really is a testament to the incredible product, the fact that the OEM sales force has done such a great job, and Windows XP Professional is being adopted very broadly. You also need to look at that enterprise number. 6% growth in absolute isn't something that we would herald in years past, but when you look at the fact that other companies in the enterprise space are showing 10, 15, 20, 25, or 30% declines, that's remarkable. And finally, if you look at our consumer business, we're at the point now, $4.4 billion in revenue, where we're reaching scale in the consumer business. So from a revenue perspective, we had a very good year. Now let's walk through our P&L. Revenue, I just showed you, 12% year-over-year growth in revenue is remarkably good on a relative basis. Something that every Microsoft employee has to understand, though, is that the cost to us of each new revenue dollar this year and in the future costs us more money. Our cost of goods and our gross profit margins will absolutely decline in each year going forward as we grow businesses with a different profile than Windows and Office. If you then look at operating expenses, we show here on a GAAP reported basis, our operating expenses were up 11%. If you back out of fiscal year 02, the fact that we accrued for a liability for a legal settlement of north of $600 million, our actual operating expenses grew only about 5%, which is much lower than revenue and a great effort in people following and sustaining the earnings per share campaign. So we had operating income of $11.9 billion, a 2% growth rate. $11.9 billion. Keep that thought in your head. And finally, in terms of our net income, we had $7.8 billion in net income and a 7% year-over-year growth. You also have to remember that 01 and 02 includes about $9 billion pre-tax that we've impaired for investments. We're very hopeful we don't repeat that. And finally, in a world of layoffs, in a world of pay cuts, in a world of retrenchments, we added 6% more people to the Microsoft family in fiscal year 02. I want to just spend just a moment talking about the great foundation this company has for many, many years to come due to our balance sheet and the fact we have such a unique and incredible business model. It's kind of hard for a CFO to put a balance sheet up that looks like this and not want to just end the talk here. But there's 2 points I really want you to notice. The first is the growth in cash of $7 billion. And this is after we bought back almost $5 billion worth of stock in the fourth quarter. So the ability for us to generate positive cash flow is again a reason for our relative stability. The second thing I want to point out is the increase in unearned revenue, which are license contracts and unearned product revenue that we'll earn over the next several years. You folks did a great job selling license programs this year that grew our unearned revenue $2 billion or 38%. Very, very good job. And what I want to say is, you made my job easy this year. Thank you very, very much. As good as fiscal year 02 was, fiscal year 03 is what I think of as the breakaway year. Because we performed so well relatively, because we didn't set crazy wild expectations over the last few years, because we didn't build resources that we couldn't support for the long term, we're now in a position to invest in fiscal year '03 in every single business in a way that, if we execute, we will exit FY '03 in a stronger relative position in every single business than we enter it. And to be able to put your foot to the pedal in a time when everybody else is easing off is exactly consistent with the long-term way this company has been built and run. And fiscal year '03, if we execute, is our breakaway year in every business. So let's just size the breakaway investments for fiscal year '03. Just look at the bottom. We are going to spend $1.275 billion more to grow our businesses in '03 than in '02. This does not include the fact that we gave people pay raises this year, the fact we gave people pay raises last year. And maybe this is a CFO speaking, but I hope people understand that we're pretty darn competitive in cash comp, bonus comp today, and we're one of the few companies in the world continuing to give raises. That doesn't even show up here. This is all new incremental that doesn't include that. We're going to add, if you include the acquisition of Navision, 6,400 people next year. That's what we've authorized to spend. As you go through these breakaway investments in the client, Turn It On marketing, launching Mira, launching Freestyle, launching Corona. If you look in the knowledge worker breakaway investments, it's funding the BPA, which is one of the most important things we need to do. It's funding the partner program. It's growing our SMB investment. If you look at server, it's SA value, it's security, it's storage, and it's a lot of quota-carrying headcount. If you look at business solutions, we are absolutely committing heavily to business solutions. We'll have another $110 million in P&L charge this year as we grow that business, plus the $1.4 billion cash and stock acquisition of Navision that doesn't go on the P&L. If you look at MSN, customer acquisition, portal marketing, growing our position internationally. If you look at home and entertainment, Xbox Live, continuing to grow our games business. And finally, which I hate to put in here as a CFO, there's sure a lot of expense that is headquarters and overhead, but it also includes Peter Canuck and the CE Group, which is growing a fine business. So in FY '03, we really have the chance to break away, and nobody in this room can say we're not spending in order to end FY '03 in a better position than we enter it. Let me talk just briefly now about what we promised to our owners. And when I built this slide originally, I had an FY '03 commitment to Wall Street. And it really isn't our commitment to Wall Street, it's the commitment to our owners, both our employee owners as well as our outside owners. And we've told our outside owners that we will grow revenue between 11 and 13%. If you remember that number that was unearned revenue of $7.7 billion, we got a lot of it in the bag already, which is very good. If you look at each of these businesses, we're going to show very good growth to very tremendous revenue growth across every single business. If you look at the operating income growth, we'll grow somewhere between 6 to 8%. If we don't make revenue plan and we spend all the money, we might grow a little less. If you guys make revenue plan or beat revenue plan and we don't spend all the money, we could beat this. But basically, we have told owners we'll grow our revenue 11 to 13% and we'll grow operating income 6 to 8%. But you know what? I think this group of people can beat this plan. I think this group can beat this plan. You gotta beat this plan.
Excuse me, John.
Yeah?
John.
Yeah?
Orlando didn't give the field a plan.
What do you mean? Isn't this the sales meeting? No plan?
Nah, I'm sorry, John. He didn't give him a plan.
Do you realize how much this meeting costs? And you guys don't even have a plan? We should cancel. Who's that guy tonight? This is ridiculous.
Well, John, actually, we have evidence. Why don't you look at this video?
The goal? I have to be honest, I don't know. No, I'm serious. I just don't know.
I can't believe it. Hello?
Hey, John.
Orlando, what the heck? What the heck is going on? You realize how many
Hey,
mouths
John.
we have to feed?
No, we don't have a plan.
What do you mean you don't have a plan?
No,
I told folks Thursday, here's our plan, here's what we're going to do.
No, I don't like plans.
Man, where are you? Could you get up here and explain how we don't have a plan? We got to pay for this party. We got 55,000 people that want to be paid. Where are you?
Okay, I'm heading right there. I explained you that why we don't like plans. Okay, wait for me.
Oh man, this is not good. I wish Bob Herbold would hear because he would know how to deal with this. I don't. I mean, how do you not have a plan? Jeez.
So that's right, my friend. No plan. And we're gonna still have a party.
I don't want to shake your hand. No plan.
You gotta give
no
me this
plan?
thing. I'll tell you. This is my meeting now.
It is your meeting.
All right. I'll tell you why I don't like plans.
You don't like plans.
I don't. Because I like stretch plans. That's why.
Let's see what you mean by a stretch plan.
Look at that. Stretching.
Okay, what does that mean? Let's see what a stretch plan means.
Well, I thought you were a finance guy. Let me explain you this.
Okay.
I assume you know these numbers, right?
No,
Yeah,
vaguely.
01. And by the way, this is called the scorecard of the commercial business in the field. So all these people sitting here, we don't include the MSN guys. I know they have a plan. I have a stretch plan. So let me show you. At 101, 16.6 billion.
Build revenue.
Bill revenue, right there at the top, right? Scorecard in the field. Well, through the great work of these people over here,
15%.
15%.
That's a
man.
great
Look at that.
job.
This year.
That's a great job. That's a stretch plan.
Okay, but we have a stretch plan.
Let's see it.
Okay, there it is. 3% growth.
I must be at the Oracle sales meeting.
Oh.
The Oracle or IBM or Siebel or SAP. This is not a stretch plan.
All right?
This is a sandbag.
All right, I'll tell you, Jan, I think we need Purple back. Because this is a stretch plan, I'll tell you why. Let me just show you, let me explain to you.
Walk me through it. Walk
Okay.
me through it.
You see that? This year, we had this little thing called Upgrade Advantage, which is a maintenance program. And these people over here did a great job
Fantastic job.
creating really, what we call a spike. Good. We have not done anything wrong.
No.
We absolutely, they went ahead and did whatever they needed to do. And we concluded, because we're responsible people, that basically that $1 billion is one-time shot. Do you agree?
So that 15%, we should probably take that down?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's the reality,
Okay. Yeah.
right? That's because we are responsible people.
That's right. You
It's
are
really-
responsible.
So really, you see what happens here? Now, it turns into an 8% plan. What do you think now?
With all those heads we're hiring, all this marketing, the best products in the world, all these server products we have to sell, 8%, it's okay. But is that a stretch plan?
I told you
Or
a
a
stretch
stretch
plan, right? Well,
I don't
let's get at it. I think you and I like double digit, right?
Double digits.
I love double digit.
Yeah.
Today, actually 2 days ago, and today I'm going to say it again. Double digit club is what we like.
Ooh, that sounds very good.
Like that?
Especially on these big numbers.
Right there. Double digit. We're going to stretch plan of 10%, and you and I like
round numbers.
Round numbers.
You round it up. Round it up.
It's our goal. Nobody's confused our goal for next year. We want to be a $20 billion organization. That's our goal.
That is a stretch plan.
The stretch plan. Let's go for it, okay?
Thanks, man. Good job. Very good.
I'm glad I was able to help you.
Thank you very much. Now we have a plan, a stretch plan, and I know this group can do it. When you think about the company and the size of our revenue, when you think about the company and the size of our absolute profitability, when you think about the expectations we have long term, this is not a company that focuses on quarterly results or even one-year results, but our long-term results. We aren't having an issue growing profits or growing revenues. Those relative and absolute revenue growth rates I showed are fantastic. We do have a challenge because of the uniqueness of several of our businesses and the level of our investment, growing profits. That's a bigger challenge than growing revenue. So we started a campaign, the EPS campaign, about 18 months ago. And this year we ended under budget in expenses about $1 billion. We think we identified about $260 million that's permanent forever savings. We've got to continue that in FY03. And man, is it a big opportunity. If you look at how much we spend in cost of goods sold and operating expenses, it's $18 billion. That's like the budget of the state of Washington and some small countries, even some decent-sized countries. So when you think about your role as an employee, your role as a manager, your role as a leader, we got to look at how do we take costs out of our business? How do we work more effectively? How do we use both revenue growth and cost efficiencies to grow our profitability and keep us where we belong as the world's most valuable company? I want to just close now on why I'm such a bull long-term on Microsoft. And everybody has to take what's going on in the financial markets today and just compartmentalize it, not pay attention to it, and do what we can do to make our business successful. But I am an absolute bull about Microsoft long term. And the fact we are at the top of the market capitalization chart shows other people are as well. First of all, we have the leading and most compelling technology vision of any company on the planet today. Secondly, without question, we have the strongest and deepest leadership team from the executive ranks all the way through our supervisors. We have very strong and very, very conservative financials. There's no landmine out there that people have to worry about. And even if business went to heck, we can pay payroll a long time with how much cash we have. The other thing is, you're going to hear all day today, and you've been hearing all week, about how committed people are in all areas of the company to changing the things we need to change and improve, and continuing to invest so we realize our potential. But the final reason I'm really enthused about the company, and I'm a bull long term, is that we have the absolute best sales force in the world. You folks did a great job this year, and give yourselves a big hand. And finally, let's have a lot of fun this year, and may the profits be with you. Thanks very much.
is Margaret Arakawa.
My name is Howard Cooperman.
I am a consultant.
Technology demonstration group.
I've been with Microsoft nearly 21 years.
Just about 11 years. I think for me, accountability has meant two things in particular. One is do what you say you're going to do. The other thing that's important to being accountable is stepping up to the plate and admitting when you make a mistake or when you fall short.
I have a situation with an account, General Electric, who's one of our top customers, very, very important, trying to deploy one of our products, and they're running into problems. Yeah, it's the weekend, but I need to check in on email and make sure that we're making progress on the goals. I was very proud of the team. Frankly, I deserve very little of the credit that goes into being accountable to General Electric. It's really the team of people who recognize that GE is having some challenges. They want to get in, they want to help, they want time on Saturday during the maintenance period so that we can do our testing. Those kinds of commitments that we make because we feel accountable to our customers, those really, I think, bring out the best in Microsoft.
We get stories from people in the subsidiaries, for example, the people who work directly with customers and partners, where, I mean, I just recently read a letter of a customer sent a letter to Steve Ballmer and said, I want to thank you and congratulate you for the kind of people you have. We went above and beyond and sharing, I mean, the information and fixing my problems and really making sure that I was getting good value out of this. And I mean, seeing that happening, it doesn't happen very often, but it's when people really make it personal.
There's sort of always this sort of underlying, I guess, sort of unwritten goal or tenet for our team and our work is that sort of the better quality build of Office we can produce, the faster we can produce it, the more we can do upstream, the better it's going to be by the time it gets to the customer. The cost of finding a bug early is much less than, if a customer finds it and it crashes on their machine. Well, if we can find it before the developer even checks in the code, it's going to be that much more efficient, that much, less painful.
I was really struck a couple of years ago at one of the CEO summits when Jack Welch, who was running GE at the time, gave a business speech at Bill's house, arguably one of the best business talks any of us had ever heard. And in it, one thing he said really struck me about the Microsoft of that day and even more about the Microsoft now. He said, there's nothing good about being big unless you can use your bigness. What he meant was, unless you can get a synergy, a symbiotic benefit of having all these big pieces working together, then in fact each part of your organization would stand the risk of being picked off by a more nimble, smaller organization. And I think today with Microsoft at 52,000 people operating around the world, we're big. And if we don't create change where in fact we are being willing to be accountable to each other, to each business unit, in fact we will give away what perhaps is the single biggest advantage of being big, that being the ability to provide integrated solutions, to have a symbiosis among our products that no individual company would be able to create. And so I think this will be one of the most important cultural changes that the company will have to make to win going forward.
Self-critical is one of the most important values that we have. I think all of the values that Steve has articulated are very important, but one of the ones I like the most is self-critical. It, in some respects, is a certain competitiveness within yourself.
When I first got to the company, I realized quickly that being self-critical was a core value. And in fact, it was almost a contest, in a good way. And it's, I think there's this taboo in some companies and some organizations, period, about being wrong.
Last year's CEO Summit was probably the low point of my career at Microsoft. We gave our 100 CEOs pocket PCs to use with a special application for the Summit on them, but we had trouble with the wireless network. We had trouble with our back-end coordination of our servers, and it was a deeply embarrassing moment for me and for Microsoft. And I think in some other companies I might have been demoted or fired, and I felt awful. But I gotta say, working for Microsoft, you are encouraged to take risks. You're encouraged to learn from your mistakes.
We have to always question ourselves. Are we doing the right thing? And also every time we do a bad job, we have to review what was done.
I think probably one of the hardest things that I find that a person has to do is admit mistakes. You always want to believe that you were trying to do the right thing or that you were doing the right thing. It's sometimes difficult to step back and say, okay, I was actually wrong in this particular case.
It's very difficult for probably everybody to really be objective, self-critical. So what I'm doing is that I'm asking my manager, I'm asking my colleagues, I'm asking my customers, how do they feel, not only about what Microsoft is doing in general, but also about in our direct relationship, and try to learn out of how people perceive you.
One area that I've worked on over the years and continue to work on is that my expectations are sometimes unreasonably high in when thinking through what it's going to take to get something done, the level of effort, or just how exacting the results have to be. I'll sometimes just set things that are quite high for that. And part of that's the nature of the work that we do, because oftentimes, we're drilling into the situation and we're kind of the final step in an approval until somebody will go and sign a deal that they're not going to understand the many months of complexities that went into it. I don't do everything perfectly myself, certainly, but I certainly aspire to do my very best and set very high expectations for myself.
I would have to say that after that low point of technology integration project not working at the CEO Summit, and then one that worked beautifully, I have to credit Craig Mundy with supporting me at the low point, with acknowledging, yes, that this did not work out as well as we wished, but never was there any question but that I was still valuable and would learn from what I had done. He wrote a note in response to some email I had sent to all the people that worked on the project, which said, basically, if you're going to live on the bleeding edge, occasionally there's going to be some blood. So I think that fundamental respect and acknowledgement of our effort was very key to motivating us to keep going and do better the next time.